Hi all, this is Jan of the Jan Files. Don't forget to subscribe. This is a short rant I'm going to do on education about Linda McMahon, who is the head of the Department of Education, put in there by Trump, because he promised to eliminate the Department of Education. So if you weren't paying attention, too bad. Because I don't want to hear it's not, well, I didn't know that he was going to do that. Yes, you should have. And if you didn't, that's your fault. Nobody else's. You either pay attention to what a candidate says they're going to do or you don't. Okay. And if you frame everything about, oh, well, I'm only concerned about the price of groceries, I got nothing for you. Okay. Nothing. Because honestly, it's all connected. So when we rob kids of the opportunity for a good education, we rob ourselves. When we rob them of the opportunity to pursue a higher education, no matter what it is they want to focus on, and give them aid, okay, financial aid to those who can't afford to go to higher education, and then say, oh man, why are they taking out loans they can't afford? Well, there is a reason why some of these things are put in place, because not everybody who goes on to become a scientist, a doctor, an electrician, a teacher, not electrician, an engineer, are wealthy. And many of the most prominent were not wealthy. They came from other kinds of circumstances. And yet here we sit, gutting the Department of Education, gutting the things that we have done to move things forward, and look at nah, let's just give this all to the states because they really know what their kids need. Well, you know what? No. There should be one level of acceptable education. How you get there is where some of the innovation can come in. But kids are kids. They need to make sure that they can eat in schools. That should be our obligation. We should make sure that they get to pursue their interests and their passions to do, most of them, good in the world. So that you don't go and become an engineer or a social worker and then end up with some stupid amount in loans. So all throughout this, in terms of their approach to education, what was in the big, beautiful bill, what they've done to FAFSA, which is the federal student aid system, and what they're doing now by cutting back on the amount of people that are facilitating these things, is a nightmare. It all goes to not caring about education and wanting those who do go to higher educations to be the more wealthy. Okay, give them this opportunity. Forget those who don't have the ability to pay for that education. That they might be the next one to cure cancer. The person who cures cancer, and you're saying, hey, what? You know what? You shouldn't have taken out that loan because you knew you couldn't pay it back. Well, let's get a couple things clear here, folks. Most of these people have paid back their actual loans. It's the interest. Why is the government making money off this? Why is this happening? In my estimation, my opinion, that the loans should just be for the amount that they occurred while they were being educated, not for the interest. And these people said, well, they shouldn't have done it. Well, you know what? Some people really, really are passionate about learning and want to do good. And they should be allowed to do so. And we should support them, just as we should support the kids that don't want to go to higher to college, but maybe want to go to a school to learn to be an electrician. Okay? All of that is valuable. Not one is not more valuable than the other. And this idea which they put into place in the big, beautiful bill, that they're going to compare the salaries that you make after graduating as an art teacher with that of somebody who's been out of not in school and only went to high school is ludicrous. What has that got to do with anything? Where are our values. We used to value being educated. We used to value and be happy when a first generation or second generation went to college and was the first family member to go to college. It is important. It is valuable, but it's been totally turned on its side. And now we're saying, no, no, no. We only let those who can afford to go, and the rest screw them. They shouldn't have taken the loan. I don't know who we've become. It's just awful. It's discouraging. Education used to have a value. And let me tell you, folks, we're not competing on the global stage anymore. We're so far down in our educational, in terms of our educational output, the competitiveness, etc. We weren't at our top of our game. We were trying to get to the top of the game, to try to reassert our prominence in the world, because we understood that our education system needed to be supported, not decimated, not having thousands, I don't know if it's thousands, but at least 1,000 people kicked off the payrolls. That wasn't about waste. It wasn't about fraud. It was just nonsense. So it's going to make everything that still exists, including FAFSA, which is, the Federal Student Aid Program, more difficult. So, this is very personal to me. My mom was a teacher. I have I have one child in school now in college, and I have another one about to go. And it's going to be a real big struggle for us and for them to go to school. And should they not, because we're not wealthy? Is that what you all are saying? Because that's what I get from this, right? And the idea that states can regulate this better is utter nonsense, okay? And when you take away DEI, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, which was an attempt to start to be more inclusive in our stories and what we learned about, the more we learn about each other, the more we understand how much we share. That is diversity, equity, and inclusion. It says don't leave out the books about Black history or Indigenous people's history or Mexican history or all of the people that have come together to create this great nation. But that's what eliminating DEI does. DEI does not put forward people who are not qualified. That's just a line of crap, okay? And you can see that Trump has no, interest in meritocracy based on who he's put in the places he has. Linda McMahon graduated in 1966 with a degree in French. And then she went on to build and run the pro wrestling. Yeah, zero educational knowledge. That's how much they care about education. Do you care? If you do, I hope you're as pissed off as I am. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks.